Hey, you guys. We just got live. I didn't realize it. Hi, you guys. It's Lisa Alexander, founder and executive director of Stand Up Survivor. And I am joined by Miss Nova Gibson, all the way from Australia. Hey, Nova.
Hi, everyone. Hey,
Hi.
Lisa. Thanks for having me again.
So excited to have you back by popular demand. So I'm going to give everybody just a few minutes to jump on in before we get started. So let me just do a couple of housekeeping and we'll get started. Hey, when you guys pop in, let us know where you're tuning in from, so that we can say hey, and also make sure that you share this with someone, tag them, inbox them, say get on this live. Nova is back and you need to hear what she has to say. So give me a few minutes and we will get started. Just doing some quick housekeeping. Okay, awesome. Hey, from Arkansas. We have Nova Gibson joining us again, you guys, from Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counseling Service. Hey, Nova.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. I'm glad that you are back. So, hey, from Boston, from Florida. Thank you. Everyone was like, you got to bring her back. So we brought her back, you guys. So come on in here. Hey, Pilar. Hey, darling. Hey, Becky. Okay, so I know these people are tuning in, are super ready to get connected to what you have to share.
Awesome.
And you guys, Nova is awesome. So if you have a question, she'll answer it on the spot, period. So if you have a question, put it in the comments and I will do my best to read them to her so that she can answer them. I can't answer any inboxes right now, so they will have to be questions that do come up in on the comment section. Okay, awesome. So we are talking about narcissistic abuse, the aftermath. Well, we're kind of going to mix it up a little bit today. But we're talking about narcissistic abuse. So we're going to just start from the top really quickly, right? So if you could tell them what narcissistic abuse is.
Okay, so narcissistic abuse, I guess, is the psychological and emotional destruction, dismantling of someone's life, someone's soul by a narcissist, and it's done by very specific measures and strategies by someone who is using the devastation that they inflict on someone else to boost their own ego.
That was so good. I mean, that was just so good. And it's like you hear these definitions, but it's interesting. The destruction that they put on someone else, they're using it for their own ego, to boost their own ego. So first they destroy you, then they utilize what they did to you for their own benefit.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they do it. They need something that we call narcissistic supply, and they gain that energy, if you will, which is the narcissistic supply, from the reactions that they get from your pain, and also from the positive reactions that we give them when they're love bombing us, which leads into the destruction.
Okay, so you guys go ahead and please put any questions that you have for Nova. We'll do our best to get to them tonight. But you talked about they feed off of the reaction, whether positive or negative.
Yes, they do. So what that means is that, and this is what's so confusing for victims of a narcissist, is because in the beginning, they are normally 99% of the time amazing. We think we've met our soulmates. Like what do we do in our lifetime that we have finally met this person? We are on this pink cloud, this pedestal they put us on. Now, in this golden era, they are going all out to make us feel like we are their soulmate. Okay. Now that is called the love bombing stage. That stage is specifically meant to hook us in. Okay. Now, this is not just a psychological and an emotional addiction or trauma bond that occurs in this stage. This is also a physical addiction where our hormones, all the oxytocins flowing, the dopamine receptors are all being hit because we're being treated like a king or a queen. Now, the narcissist has this innate ability to know when you're hooked or addicted, and that's when they start devaluing you. or the mask drops, or they become
Okay.
who they really are. So that positive energy they're getting from you in the beginning, when you're reflecting back to them how amazing they are, is no better, no worse than the negative energy they get from you when they are walking over
Mm.
your crying body and they have destroyed your life. It's just
Wow.
as good for them.
Well, that is mind blowing. Positive, negative, the reactions are still the same. They're still getting what they need from
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Meanwhile, the unsuspecting victim is a mess, up and down, a roller coaster all over the place, not
yeah.
realizing that regardless of whatever reaction we give, they are still feeding off of it.
Yeah, it's like what did I do? Why have I suddenly been ousted, kicked off this pink cloud when they were worshipping me? I was their god or their goddess, and now I've been unceremoniously kicked off this pink cloud, and I can do no right. And that's because they know you're addicted, they know that you're hooked, and they can relax. They can become who
Mm.
they really are. The mask drops, you start to react to their abuse, and of course that's it. You will never see that love bombing stage again, except for little breadcrumbs that they will throw you out when you
Right.
start to pull away to hook you back in. You will never see that side of them again because that person never existed. That
Wow.
was an actor trying to get you hooked so that they could keep you there as a constant form of narcissistic supply.
Supply. Wow. That's powerful. I hope you guys caught that. So let me ask you a quick question before I go into some of the questions. I'm trying to write these down as much as possible. So is
Sure.
there a time frame that it starts from the love bombing to the discard phase, or can it vary depending on the person?
It can vary. Look, I have some of my beautiful clients that come to see me for counseling that have been in a relationship with their narcissist for 30 years. Now, that doesn't mean they haven't been discarded over and over and over again. It just means that most probably that the abuse was so bad and their self-esteem was whittled down to nothing, and they were made to be isolated and to feel non-worthy of another relationship, that they stayed for whatever reason. That doesn't mean they weren't discarded, but they have actually stayed in that official relationship with the narcissist for that long.
Wow.
So it can vary depending but it will always depend on what the narcissist wants, not what you want. So if that suits them to keep you there, then that's what they will do. But it will depend on the narcissist's needs and their needs only.
And that's kind of crazy to think about too, because we think that we're kind of in control of the relationship. If we love them more, they stay around longer. If we do what they want them to do, but this is not our timeline. When you're dealing with the narcissist, it is not on our timeline. It's completely on their timeline.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
most people don't realize that until, they are addicted or trauma bonded to their abuser, that this is even abuse. So if you are being made to feel responsible for everything that's going on, the narcissist blame shifts and flips the script, all the time to be, so everything is your fault. If you are thinking that everything is your fault, and there's no reason that you would think that you're being abused, you tend to blame yourself. So it's like a double whammy. You're getting it from your abuser, and then because your self-esteem has been whittled down to a toothpick, you are then blaming yourself. So the idea of this being abuse doesn't cross a lot of people's minds until it's too late, until they are completely trauma bonded to their abuse.
Wow, that's powerful. You guys, Nova's here. She's amazing. She will answer your questions. So I'm going to throw some of them out to you, Nova. So how do they become a narcissist? The question is double-sided. How do they become a narcissist? Are they born that way?
Okay, so look, the research is kind of out on exactly how someone becomes a narcissist, but most research tends to indicate that it's environmental. Now, what that means is that they learn it through role modeling. So, and most research will indicate that this happens, quite young in their life, maybe around about the age of 4, 5, or 6. Now, that can be through some traumatic event when they've had to develop this false personality, I guess you could say as a coping mechanism, as a
Okay.
shield of armor, so that they won't get hurt again. If I have no empathy, I am not vulnerable. And, you know, if you have no empathy, you can go around hurting people and feel nothing. Or on the flip side of that, if a child is overindulged, where there's no rules, the rules don't apply to you. You get whatever you want, and there's no consequences, and you are actually rewarded for bad behaviour.
Wow.
You know, where those types of kids are overindulged and just given no boundaries, it can happen in that sort of regard, which is still abuse. Okay, so that's what most research tends to indicate, and I believe that it's environmental. That the narcissist will develop this personality disorder very early on, as in response to some kind of trauma in their own life. Now, most people will say to me, but then, Nova, shouldn't we feel sorry for them? You know, if they were abused as a child, doesn't that mean, you know, we should be there? Because, you know, if we were abused as a child, we would want someone to help us.
Yeah, that's a typical question. Yep.
Yeah, and the reason you feel like that is because you have empathy. Okay. Now, to have empathy for someone who is completely devoid of it, has no conscience, is going to put you in the path of their destruction, because that person, that little child who had empathy once upon a time, for a very short period of time, they no longer exist. And there is a person left who is conscienceless, trying to get that out, is completely devoid of empathy and will use you and destroy you to sustain that false mask they have now developed to replace that true self, which they are so ashamed of.
Wow, that's good. Thank you for answering that. To the survivor in the chat, you know who you are, that share that your abuser follows this page. Please let us know their names so we can happily block them. We're here for you. We have no problem doing that. Side note. More questions. Ready? How, if you have a parent that's a narcissist, how do you deal with a parent who's a narcissist?
Yeah. Okay. A parent who is a narcissist inflicts the same, you know, destruction and devastation, only this time they're doing it to their own children. A narcissist will only have children, like they do anything in life, for their own gain. So a child of a narcissist is objectified, just like we as intimate partners are objectified. They are there to meet the narcissist's needs, to provide them with some kind of status in society. You know, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm going to fit into the community, to stroke the narcissist's ego by, you know, especially when they're very young, you know, when they're like, mummy, 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 daddy, daddy, daddy. That's, you know, that is ego boosting for the narcissist. And of course, to be there for the narcissist to manipulate and for that child to meet that narcissist's needs as they grow older by segregating them from their friends, stopping them from, you know, having friends and having a peer group, and just creating this massive sense of fear, obligation, and guilt. So when you're dealing with a narcissistic parent, we call you ACONs. That's an acronym, ACON, adult child of a narcissist. The same applies. No contact or minimal contact, grey rock if you have to. Now that is easier said than done when this sense of obligation and guilt has been instilled in you since you were born, and you feel nearly terrified to not answer their phone call, you know, or to not go around and see them when the narcissistic parent demands it. And don't forget, you've also got society going. You can't turn away from your elderly parent. You know, what sort of an ungrateful child are you? Especially when the narcissist has been portraying that they are this amazing parent who does everything for you outside of the, those closed doors, and putting on out there this image that they are this wonderful parent. So you've got all these things against you. So it's hard, but you have to get away from their ability to manipulate you and take advantage of all their previous brainwashing and conditioning.
Wow, that's good. And it's got to be really hard. As your parent, you're taught you have to respect and love them, but you're dealing with the narcissist. And so, someone talks about how they had to.
No one has the right to abuse you.
Period.
And this is what I say to ACONs. No one has the right to abuse you, not even your parent and not even your child, your narcissistic child.
That's good. Thank you for answering that one. How do narcissistic abusers walk away so easily? How are they able to move on so quickly? How are they able to, after, again, and it kind of goes back to what you said, we put our heart and soul, our body, everything into this relationship, and they're done. Mm-hmm. They're able to walk on, get remarried within months, move on. How do they do that?
The reason the narcissist can walk on so quickly, like you never existed, is because, and this is the most painful realization, but they can move on so quickly because they were never attached, or they were never emotionally connected to you in the first place. Now, when you feel this connection and you are so bonded to this person on this massive roller coaster that you have been on, to think that those times weren't real and that you were just being, used to prop up their ego is very, very painful. But that is exactly why they can do it, because they're never emotionally connected. If we, to a narcissist, we are no different to a new car or a new washing machine. We're all shiny and new for a little while, but then we start to play up and, we break down, and the narcissist has to spend a bit of money on us, keeping us maintained, and then they just get bored with us. So what do we do when we get bored with a new car? If we can afford it, we trade it in. And that's exactly how the narcissist thinks. That's how their mind works. But to us, to be discarded like we're something on the bottom of their shoe, and there's just no recollection of all those memorable times that you have, that's just, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, someone said in the comments, ouch. And I felt that. That's literally ouch. That hurt. And you said it with such compassion and empathy, understanding that does hurt. To know that you thought all these years you put in all this love and connections and had your children, a family, built a life with this person, and they're able to walk away so easily because they weren't connected to it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just, you're dealing with someone who's very, very disordered, and their emotional intelligence, that stops very, very early on in life, round about that age when that personality disorder forms, about 4 or 5. So you've got to equate these people who are in an adult body with the emotional intelligence of a toddler. It's just me, 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 me.
Yeah. Yeah. So someone said, what about, the car analogy, but what if it's a worse car? Because even as women, especially, you discarded me for her, you discarded me for them. Like, are you serious? Yeah. And then we second guess ourselves, and we look at ourselves like, what's wrong with me? How is that possible? Why, even if it's for a worse car, quote unquote.
Yeah. Okay. But what we're doing there when we're going, but look at them, they've got less money than I do. They don't have a uni degree, or they're not as attractive as, I feel I am. They can't give as much to him. What we're doing is we're projecting us onto the narcissist. Okay, that's what the narcissist does. They project all of their terrible qualities onto us, and all of those behaviors that they engage in, which they project that onto us. So every time they're accusing us of something, they're confessing, basically.
Yes, literally.
So when we think that well, that person is kind of, they're kind of below me on whatever level, what we're doing is we're saying that to ourselves, that the narcissist is thinking the same way that we do. What we have to do is we have to put those narcissist goggles on and try and think like they do. That old car that they have now that you might feel is not as good as your shiny new car is providing something to that narcissist that the narcissist values. Okay. Now, for whatever reason, they have deemed you as the previous target boring, worthless. You are now devoid of providing them with any narcissistic supply. Now, that is because they have abused you so much that you're empty. Your tanks are empty. You can't give them anything back.
They've drained you. They've taken it all.
That doesn't matter to them that you're a crumpled heap on the ground because they abused you so much. All that matters to them is that you're empty. So they need to move to someone who is full and is able to, in the beginning, reflect back to them how amazing they are. So whatever reason, this new person is going to worship that narcissist in the beginning. They have something, whether it's the fact that they are just so diminished from a previous abusive relationship that they will be an easier target. That they might have some just something that the narcissist finds valuable that you can't put your finger on, but that's because you're looking at through your lenses. So it's got nothing to do with attractiveness or money or anything like that. Yeah. It's just got to do with the fact that you're now empty and this person is full.
Yeah. So don't even bother putting yourself down, comparing yourself. Don't. You're just further causing yourself more pain. Yeah. It's not about you. We think, of course, initially it's about us, but it has nothing to do with us. Nothing at all. Someone said, I love this, but it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because
like hell, it's terrible.
You're human, and you feel, that the pain of betrayal and the pain of losing someone that you thought you meant something to, and the pain of seeing them with someone who's, you don't believe is able to give them what you could, and they're just throwing everything that you gave them away. It's painful. There is no way around that. There has to be a grieving process.
Yes.
And that's something that people say to me, but I don't want to grieve that person. I hate them. Look what they did to me. Yeah. And I get that. But you're not grieving that toxic, abusive person. You're grieving everything that was wrapped up in that relationship, your dreams, your hopes, your future. Don't forget they future faked all the time, and you thought you were spending the rest of your life with this person. So you had so much invested with them. You have to give yourself closure and say goodbye. That means grieving, and there is no going over that tunnel or underneath it or around it. You
can't skip it.
You have to go.
You can prolong it. You can hit pause, but there's going to come a time when you're going to have to go through that grieving process and sit with that pain and process it. It's really, really important, because you said it perfectly. You can't skip it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You're going to have to go through it like sludge, like mud, but you can get through it. You can get through it. All right. Thank you, Nova. If you guys, I'm trying to do my best to get to your questions. If you have some, put them in. All right, here we go. Why do we go back to a physically abusive relationship is the question.
Okay, why do we go back? Well, we certainly don't go back. I'll firstly say why the reasons we don't go back. We don't go back because we're not intelligent, and we don't go back because we're weak. Okay, and this is a real misconception out there in the community that why don't you just go? Why don't you just leave? When the first time they hit you, why didn't you just go? So you can't do that to yourselves, guys, because you're copying enough of that from the outside, from people who are ignorant and naive. The reason that you go back is because of something called trauma bonding. Okay, something that happened to you that you had no control over, that you didn't choose, but it happened so gradually. This trauma bonding, aka Stockholm syndrome, the addiction, it happens so gradually and insidiously that now that you're out of the relationship, whether it's because you were discarded or the abuse came so bad and you managed to get away for a short period of time, you're not aware that this addiction actually took took place. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you became addicted to heroin or cigarettes or alcohol or something like that, at least you can put your finger on what happened and go, okay, yeah, I put the cigarette in my mouth. I've got to deal with this addiction now and try and work through the withdrawal and the cravings. And I've got to develop strategies because I don't want to smoke again. I know that it's destroying my life. But when there's an addiction there, the trauma bond that you don't even know about, and you keep going back to something you know on a conscious level is abusive and is destroying your life, what do? We think there's something wrong with us.
Yeah.
We've gone back. I know it's bad for me, but I just can't stay away. Why? Now, the reason we go back is because of the trauma bonding. Trauma bonding happens in the beginning stages when the love bombing is there, and they're worshipping you. They're worshipping every word that you say and the ground that you walk on. This is when you become addicted, essentially. You become addicted to those happy chemicals, the oxytocin, and, you know, that you get addicted to having those dopamine receptors hit all the time. And then all of a sudden, they rip the carpet out from underneath you and you hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. Now, this roller coaster that you will all know of, where you are up here and then you're down low, and then you're up here and then you're down low. These massive highs followed by these massive lows are extremely addictive, okay? And what happens is the narcissist, knowing that you're addicted, knowing that you're trauma bonded to them in the beginning, is able to throw you out in the end, just a few breadcrumbs. They will do what we call hoover you. Now, hoover means to suck you back, like the Hoover vacuum cleaner. They will suck you back in just with a few breadcrumbs now of the love bombing stage. That's all they need, because they're then hitting on those receptors.
A phone call, a text message, something, flowers, something that they know will get you.
I was just in the area, I was thinking about you and thinking about that song that used to, you know, that we used to dance to. And unknowingly with you, they're putting the drug back in your veins, and also unknowingly to you, you're in withdrawal. And you're in constant state of anxiety. You're having massive cravings to unblock them, to drive by their house. Why? Because you're in withdrawal. So here comes the narcissist with a few breadcrumbs going, here I am, here's a sniff of the drug that you're addicted to. And what do we want? We want relief. We want relief from the withdrawal symptoms, but we don't know that we're in withdrawal. So we think that we want to go back to the abuser, and we blame ourselves. You know, there's something wrong with me. Yeah. And this trauma bond that takes place, liken it to, you know, someone, some kind of drug dealer who in the beginning goes around, you know, giving little school kids or anyone really samples of their drugs, okay? And you think, wow, this person's pretty cool. And, you know, these drugs are pretty cool. I'm getting a massive high out of these drugs, and I can control it. Before you know it, you're addicted, and the drug dealer has got control of you, because you'll crawl along on your hands and knees to have a taste again of that drug. Now, this is what happens with the trauma bond only. During the relationship, the narcissist has very gradually lowered your self-esteem so much that the highs that were massive in the beginning, they are pretty much non-existent, and they can still get you back. They can pass you a tissue when you're crying, or just make you a cup of tea when you're hysterical because of the abuse, and you'll think, oh my goodness, they've changed.
They still love me.
They really are a nice person.
Yes.
And this is because now they just have to walk past you, and because your boundaries have been lowered. You know, it's like when you become addicted to a drug. In the beginning, you don't need much. You don't need much heroin or whatever it is you're taking, and you can get a massive high out of it. But in the end, towards the end, you need much greater amounts to get the same kind of high out of it. So this is the same. In the end, the narcissist, only it's kind of, I guess, reversed. The narcissist doesn't only needs to throw out, a few breadcrumbs, and you will be there, because you need reprieve from the withdrawal symptoms. So please don't think that you go back and go back and go back because of anything that's wrong with you. I want you guys to really research trauma bonding,
please,
and work on breaking that invisible connection to your abuser.
That was good. Thank you. So I have a kind of a follow-up question to that kind of came in a little bit later. If we're breaking up, that we're done, he discarded me or whatever, she discarded me, but they start crying. They have real tears, begging me to come back or something like that. And they say, how are they able to, do this whole show if they can't feel anything? If they can't feel anything, how are they able to show such emotion?
Cool. But, well, number one, it's not real emotion. And those tears are what we call crocodile tears. And the reason they can just produce those waterworks that, at a drop of a dime, is because they have spent their entire lifetime practicing. Essentially, that person is an actor, and I hear it all the time. I've seen it, when they can sit there and just produce the waterworks, and and then have someone's arms wrapped around them because that person has empathy. And if we see someone crying, that tugs at our heartstrings. We don't want to see someone upset. The narcissist knows this. They bank on this. So that's why they perfect this skill. Like an actor, they can produce those tears on cue.
Wow. So that's hard to hear. For someone, I know whoever's listening probably that was hard to hear your answer. But I know you think they were connected to you emotionally. They're going to miss you. They love you. That is not what's going on here. This is a part of their act. Painful, but true, Nova. All right. So let's see. Okay. If they are not able to, how are they able to emotionally differentiate if they get the same supply off of positive and negative reactions? Like, if they're getting the same thing, how are they able to emotionally differentiate between the two? If they're void of feelings? They
don't. That's just the thing. That's why either or is just as good for them. They don't differentiate. I suppose you could say they might differentiate in the degree, and what they're actually searching for at that time. But for the most part, either or is good, and they don't differentiate. It is all just supply. So, and this is what is so confusing for people, because they can't understand why the narcissist seems to be enjoying their pain and just has no empathy for the devastation that they cause in their life. It's all good. Negative supply, positive supply supports that false mask, that version of themselves that says, hey, I'm powerful. I've got this person just madly in love with me, or I have the power to drop this person to their knees, and that must make me pretty special. It's all an ego boost. It's a power boost. So they really don't differentiate between the two with regard to what they get from it. They get from both narcissistic supply to prop up that false self.
Yeah, that sucks. That's hard. That's a hard one to swallow. Good. Okay. They're saying yes. Thank you. Okay.
I guess why they're asking that, Lisa, is because a lot of people go, well, if I'm just nicer to them, they won't be searching for so much narcissistic supply from me because I'm being nicer to them. It doesn't matter, guys. You can try and get back to that person you met in the beginning. But the fact is, the reality is that person doesn't exist. They never did. And you will never get them back because it was simply an actor.
Wow. But you know who you can get back, right? That's you. you can get you back.
Yeah.
And so through all of this, I know it's a little heavy, but I want you guys to get this content so you know what you're dealing with, so you know what to do about it. And through all of that, you may lose them, but you're not really losing anything because that person was trying to destroy you. You can get yourself back, and you can be even better than you were before. So don't be discouraged by that at all. Let me see. Oh, so if they don't care, why do they seek revenge? Like, why?
They seek revenge simply to punish you. Okay, they don't care about your feelings, but they care about their own their own needs. Okay, and destroying you, punishing you, gives them a massive ego boost. It gives them a sense of power. They will want to, what you see as revenge, they will want to punish you for thinking that you can leave and that you can heal and move on without them, even though they discarded you. They will want to punish you for doing all of those things, thinking that you can get away from them. What you've got to remember is that they want to keep you in their lives somehow by keeping themselves in your mind. Now, if they just go away and sail off into the sunset, where's the fun in that? They want to dig that boot in. They want you to be thinking about them forevermore.
Yeah.
Once again, an ego boost. It gives them power, so they want to destroy you. That to know that they have the power to bring you to your knees is everything to a narcissist. It's got nothing to do with having emotions and you know, being hurt by what you did. They don't feel the same way you do, but they want to dig that boot in so that you know who you're dealing with and that you can't just move and leave them.
Wow, that was a good answer. Thank you. Thank you for that. So we talked a little bit a second ago about the grieving process, right? And so someone asked, what is involved in the grieving process?
Okay, so if we go with a theory that we call Kubler-Ross's theory, Kubler Ross's theory, there I think 5 stages. I'm probably going to miss one, but I'm sure someone will correct me. But to be able to truly grieve and come to that, I guess, end stage, we have to firstly, and these are in no particular order, we have to go through, you know, the sadness, the despair, the anger. Okay, look what these people did to you. You deserve to be angry. Okay, you have every right to be angry, but it's what we do with that anger. Certainly we don't direct it at ourselves because we didn't do anything. And we don't direct it back at the narcissist because that's what they want.
That's what they want.
Yep. You to be angry because what does that mean? It means they're still inside our head.
Yes.
Okay. So, but we deserve to be angry, but we have to use the energy from that anger to propel us forward into that new job, into our new passion, into all of that self-care that we have. So we've got despair, we've got anger, then we've got something that we call denial. You know, if I just don't think about this, you know, then maybe it isn't real, it isn't happening to me, and you know, I'll just pretend like, you know, that something else is going on and it wasn't really as bad as it was, and we just bury everything and we don't address it and we just don't want to think about it. There's that denial stage. Then there's something that we call the bargaining stage. The bargaining stage is where we sit there and we go, oh, if maybe I hadn't have done this and if this hadn't have happened and if I hadn't have acted in this way and I, you know, maybe had treated them a bit better, then all of this wouldn't be happening. And, you know, we try and bargain with God that if they do something, then you know, then we'll promise to do something and then it'll all be different. There's that bargaining stage. And finally, at the very end of the grieving process, we come to a place we call acceptance. Okay, now these, you have to feel all these emotions and bring them here and work through them. What I get people to do is, once again, in no particular, is to, when you feel these emotions and you feel that anger or you feel that sadness and you're just crying uncontrollably, feel it, really feel it.
Yes.
Stop what you're doing if you can and go, right, I'm going to cry and I'm really going to cry. I'm going to get my pillow and I'm going to just sob and pour my heart out into this pillow, and I'm going to give myself half an hour. And I'm going to really let it out. If I'm angry, I'm going to get a punching bag or a pillow and I'm going to whack the you-know-what out of that. And I'm going to give myself half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever you come up with. Put the oven timer on and give yourself a time limit, but feel those emotions.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I teach that too. Feel the emotion. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to feel bad for feeling angry or sad or devastated or lonely. Feel the feeling. Don't dismiss it. Yeah, don't dismiss it.
And when that timer goes off, when you're feeling that emotion, and I only say to put a timer on it so that you don't get consumed in it. And that doesn't become, something that you can't get out of. When that time.
No, but I want to say something about the timer too, that I think that's really powerful, because the thing is, people, and I'm sure you've worked with some who've been sitting in their same pain for 25 years. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's not, you're putting a timer on in that moment, but you're putting a timer on in that season in your life of that pain, allowing it to sit in your life for a certain amount of time as well. Yeah, because absolutely. you don't want to be regurgitating that same pain for the next 25 years. That means that it's still allowing it to control you, and then you're not living. So sorry, but I had to jump in right there. Go back to the timer.
That's really powerful. That's exactly right, Lisa. This is just about that particular moment when you're feeling that grief and it's overwhelming. You know what? You feel it, girl, or you feel it, guy. You go for it and you get those emotions out. Now, the more you address these feelings and get them out, hopefully the less and less power they will have over you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I absolutely agree with that.
And they won't come to impinge and negatively impact on your life as much. And that will gradually get less and less until you come to that time where you're like, wow, it's, and you don't even notice it. You think, well, it's been like a week and I haven't even thought about them. That's healing.
Yeah. I love that. And when you bury something, it doesn't mean that it's still not there. It's still going to come up, and it may come up at the most inopportune moments. You may lose it when someone says hello to you in the grocery store, and you really are just sad about A, B, C, or D. And those who are watching, I've kind of used this analogy before. Like, if you break your arm, it's broken. You go to the hospital and they put a cast on it, right? And they say, don't use it. They put it in a sling and they say, hold it there. You keep it there for about 2 months, and you give it time to heal. We know it hurts, right? You don't just all of a sudden say, oh, my arm is broken, let me go back to using it. No, you give yourself a chance to heal what hurts, right? Or you have a cut on your arm, you cover it, you get stitches, you get a Band-Aid, you see the bruise eventually, but it doesn't feel the same. The pain is not the same. Yeah, the scar is there, but that pain is not the same. You've got to give yourself time to heal. You don't just cut your leg, get your leg cut off, and you're like, oh, let me go walking today. No, you take the time to heal. And that's really, really important. And it's okay. And someone made a good point. It is important that, we're advocates for therapy, for counseling, of having someone journey with you through your pain. We're not saying shut up in a closet and deal with these emotions by yourself. That is not what we're saying. Connect with a community, a therapist, a coach, someone who is able, a spiritual leader, to walk you through your healing process, because you're going to be up, you're going to be down, you're going to be all over the place. Don't heal alone. Heal in community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a couple of questions that were going really fast, you guys. I'm sorry if I miss it. Okay. This one was really good. I wanted to touch on this one really quickly. It's kind of going back. What do you do when they try to, I'm going to go to co-parenting and Stockholm syndrome, y'all. Don't worry. When they try to pull you back in with that text message, how are the kids? I miss y'all. Yeah. And you, and the person said, yeah, y'all. And the person replied, the kids miss you too, right? And his reply was, you don't miss me? So I hear this whole game, like I literally have lived this. Yeah. And so
I get it.
What would you say to that?
Okay, so let's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to say something to Sarah who's listening. I want you to know that you are not alone. You are not alone. You have not experienced this by yourself. And that's all I want to say to Sarah. Okay, sorry. Go no.
Okay. What do you do to that? Well, When you're extremely vulnerable, and I believe, and at any time, you should be cutting that ability for them to do that. You should be cutting that off. You have to cut their ability. Yep, snip, snip, snip. To manipulate you, manipulate your emotions. You have to cut that capacity off. What you've got to remember is they planted, I can't remember if I said this last time, but they planted all these hypothetical buttons. We call this conditioning. They planted all these buttons in your brain. Now, they can come along without you knowing it and just press on one of those buttons and manipulate you, okay? And you can fall back. Why? Because the drug is being put back in your system and it's in your veins, it's in that intravenous drip, and you start to feel those old feelings without you even knowing it. Just like a cigarette smoker hasn't smoked for 6 months, puts the cigarette in their mouth, they may think, I've got total control over this, haven't had a smoke in 6 months, but your body remembers, your brain remembers. Those dopamine receptors are being hit again by that same drug. So when we give them the ability to manipulate us, that's what they're going to do. So here he is, acting like nothing's happened, acting like nothing. He didn't abuse you for however many years, and he wants to co-parent with you and get along for the kids' sake, and just asking these benign questions that you would ask any kind of friend. How are you? And then, of course, when you said the kids miss you, what does he top it off with? Don't you miss me?
Oh, my goodness, the manipulation. I can just, it's seeping through this conversation.
And pulling at those strings and putting the drug back in your system, pushing on all those buttons. And I am not judging you. I am not, believe me, I'm not making fun of you, and I'm not judging you, because this happens without you knowing it, okay? So my suggestion, cut off all phone contact. If he is truly just wanting to have contact with you around the children, then cut it down to an email only. You can't have friendly conversations. These people are not your friends. They never will be. They tried to destroy you, and they will destroy you again if you give them half a chance. So don't give them that capacity. Just because they're being that the snake with the smile at the moment doesn't mean that if you pray for that snake, be nice to that snake, invite that snake over for dinner, that snake won't bite you.
Not bite you. Still a snake. A snake is a snake.
They are still a snake. So cut that communication off. And I know that sounds, but we've got kids together. You get an email. Then you're not having them ring you all day, every day, because they don't care about the kids. They care about disrupting your life and staying inside your head all the time and just wrecking your day, so you're thinking about them all the time. If you cut it down to an email, they won't like it. Why? Because they're losing control. But cut it down to an email where you check it on a computer, so it's not on your phone, and you're not, you don't have that craving to check it. And what the narcissist will say to you is what everyone else will say to you too, and probably you will be thinking, which is, what if there's an emergency? Which is the usual question, and the narcissist will say this so they keep control of you. Then you get a third party. Oh, you're concerned if there's an emergency with our children? Well, you never been concerned in the past, but let's just pretend that you're concerned about an emergency taking place now. Here's my mother's number. Here's my best friend's number. If there's an emergency, you contact them immediately, and they will be sure to contact me. But have it all by email, and do not talk to them like a friend. Do not talk to them do not give them your emotions. You feed them. You feed that shark. You feed that beast. If you provide them with any kind of narcissistic supply, you have to cut them off at the knees from getting anything from you, so they become bored and go elsewhere.
Very good. They don't need to know where you're going, what you're doing, they don't need to know this information. Gray rock. So somebody wanted to talk a little bit about gray rocking and parallel parenting. Whoever asked about that, listening to what you just said, make it via email. Text message is entirely too easy for them to be able to have conversation with you.
Yeah.
Gray rock. So let's talk. Go ahead. Let's talk a little bit about gray rock and parallel parenting.
Sure, Lisa. Gray rock is exactly that. Well, first of all, what is a grey rock? We call it grey rock when we go as little contact as possible. We call it grey rock because what does a grey rock do? A rock just sits there. It doesn't give any emotional responses. It just sits there. You might be able to see it, but it does nothing. Okay, so what does the narcissist want from us? They want our reactions. Okay, so even if we're seeing them and we think we're giving them nothing, but we're giving them like an eyebrow raise, you said that, meaning you're an idiot, or, we think you're, have a very low IQ. If we're, implying that through an eyebrow raise, we are giving the narcissist a reaction. So what I say is do not see them at all. Even if you have kids, pickups, drop-offs, you get a third party, you get a contact center. You do not talk to your abuser on the phone. You do not see your abuser face to face. You cut it down to email. If you, for some reason, I don't know, you're in court or somewhere, even court, you don't look at them, but just somewhere you absolutely had to see them, then you don't look at them. You don't even give an eyebrow raise because that is an indication that you're feeling something. Again, it provides them with narcissistic supply. You do what I call robot face, just nothing, absolutely nothing. And you do this robot face, hypothetically, in your written communication with them as well. So you treat all your emails like an affidavit. So what are we told to do? And many of you will, especially those with children, will have been through the family court process, and excuse me, you will have been told that an affidavit, there is to be no emotions. It has to be purely fact, just sentences with just dry facts. That is it, no emotion. Okay, this happened, that happened. That is how you treat your communication with the narcissist. If you can get away with one word, which is yes, no. Are the children going to be here? Yes. That's it. If they're really after just an answer, then there should be nothing wrong with that. If they are baiting you to provide them with, an elongated answer by saying like, why? You didn't do that before and you owe me an explanation. No, you don't. You never owe the narcissist an explanation for what you do ever again. Emotions, feed them. They know they hurt you. They know they're getting to you. They know they're frustrating you and they're impacting on your life. Give them nothing. Treat your communication as like an affidavit and have as little communication as possible.
And as you do it over time, you're going to get better at it. Don't expect it to happen right away, but begin the process. And you're gonna realize that they're going to continue to try to fish and ask you further questions.
They will.
Yeah, go ahead.
And Lisa, that's so true. When you start going, like if you send them a one-word answer, like just say they say, oh, will little Johnny be at the normal pickup time at the normal pickup place of here? You send back, yes. The narcissist is going to sit there and hang on a minute, you rude so-and-so. You can't just send me a yes back. What's wrong? He might or she might send something back like, what's wrong with you? What's gotten up your nose today? And you can't speak to me like that. You need to talk with, with some respect and wanting to get into this dialogue where they're getting under your skin and you feel the need once again to explain yourself.
Right.
They will up the ante and don't respond to it. Yes, you will soon teach them what your boundaries are.
Okay, so let's just touch on that real quick. You're teaching them how to treat you. No longer are you going to allow them to dictate your boundaries or how you're treated. You are now teaching them how to treat you. And stick with it. It's hard. And another thing I wrote down when I wanted to just mention, when we leave or we're doing better, we want to say, well, I'm going on vacation or I'm doing this. Don't tell them anything. We want to say, oh my goodness, I went back to school. Oh, I got a new car. Look, I got a job. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Just thrive.
Yeah,
Just heal. Just
exactly.
just move forward. Get married. Do you. Do not. It's an innate kind of thing in us. We're like, well, now I'm doing better. Well, look at me now. I'm doing. It doesn't matter. They're probably going to eventually see it, especially if you co-parent. Live your best life without looking back to tell them how great you're doing. They'll see that.
Yeah.
They'll see that. If you have any final questions, please go ahead and throw them in the chat before we free Nova. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and say what you're going to say when I
I was just going to say, when we do that, it's kind of like, ha, 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 I look at me now, and it's kind of like a bit of revenge, and, you mean nothing to me now. But where you've really got to be is that place of meh, that I call it, where you just don't even think about them. You don't care whether they're winning $1 million in the lotto. You don't care whether they're coming down with some terminal sexually transmitted disease. Just don't think about them. They mean nothing to you. When we want them to know what we're doing, that means they're still up here, and we still benefit by knowing that we hurt them, or we got to them. Get to that spot where you just don't even think about it. And you know what? If you say that to them, you won't get the reaction that you want, because the narcissist will go, yeah, she's still thinking about me. I knew it. Yeah. She's still trying to one-up me, and it will have the opposite effect of what you think.
Just do you.
Yeah.
Put that energy. I'm going to touch on those too. I promise you, Stacey, right? Okay. So put that energy to propel yourself into healing, into growth, into thriving, all that energy, that despair, that anger. Push yourself to move forward, to be better, and to be all that you can be. Don't worry about them. Don't allow that energy and that pain to regurgitate within yourself. Use that to push you toward doing what you want to do, and to be more positive. Yes, they say I see you. To be more positive and create the life you really want. Refuse to give them any more control and power over your life. No one can do that. Nova and I can't go to you and say, don't give them any more power. I know you have to listen. I co-parent with mine. Okay, I get it. Right? Gray rock the heck out of them. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's difficult. I don't know what he's doing when he has them. I can't control that. And that's something that was really hard for me, but I had to learn I can't control what he does with them. I can only control what they do with me.
You have to put it is hard when it's your children.
Oh, yeah. It's hard, but it's worth it, because
you have to work out what you can control and what you can't control. Now, it's useless putting, it's useless putting all of your energy and that stress and that guilt you feel for your children. It's useless putting it into something you can't control. You can wish for a million years that you could have, this guilt would enable you to control that situation somehow, but you can't. So come to some form of acceptance and peace with that, and then use that energy and put it in the bucket that you can control, which is your self-care and your future.
Exactly.
Because then you'll be a happier parent, which the children will benefit from.
A healed parent. It makes such a big difference. Now I do have a caveat for that too, because when you think about it, like I remember telling the judge, I said, he's going to be abusive in his next relationship. I need to protect my children. Well, as some of these comments showed, the courts didn't care. They asked me, well, what do you want me to do about that? They really didn't care. So I had to decide within myself, as long as I know that I know that I can't control that, and my job is to protect my children, I do it to the best of my ability. If I feel as though they're unsafe when they're with them, that's a whole nother topic. I'm not even going there, because I'm going to protect my children. But for things that I know that I can't control, I have to let it go, because it weighs too much for me to carry. So, sorry, go ahead, Nova.
I was just going to say the children will be benefiting from that, Lisa, from you putting all of that energy in that maybe at one time very early on you were putting into that bucket of stuff I can't control, into your self-care and being happy for them, because the kids don't want a perfect mum or dad. They want a happy mum or dad.
They want a happy mom or dad. They want a healed mom and dad. They want a whole. You can do this. And it has nothing to do with your abuser. I promise you can. Okay. Last but not least, they wanted to. Actually, this one is really important. The memory, the brain fog. Why is my memory so bad? Was one of the questions. Why do I struggle to remember things? Why is that? And I know there's like a scientific reason behind it, but if you want to give us a short answer, whatever answer you have is fine.
So was the question kind of why do I keep it? Was it kind of along the
They have
lines of
struggle with a memory. Why did the trauma mess with their memory? Why do they have trouble remembering things? Why
okay,
are they
so that's memory loss. Okay, so well, you think of the power this person had over you, where you were this strong, amazing person. You still are this strong, amazing person. You're going to, that person is going to be more visible to you very, very soon. But you think about the power of their manipulation to get you to a place where you didn't trust your gut instinct. Your intuition was always wrong, okay? And you were always to blame. To do that, they have to basically change all those little neural pathways in your brain to have you thinking like that. They essentially brainwash you, okay? And that it takes a lot of work to kind of redesign all those neural pathways. So it stands to reason for you to come out the other side and all of a sudden trust your gut instinct and practice all of these phenomenons and skills again, relearn them, that's going to be draining on your memory. Now, you were taught that your memory is wrong. That's gaslighting. What you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you think is going on is not real, and your intuition is wrong. You're taught that all of your senses, if you will, are misguided and are wrong. So you have to teach your brain and your memory that all of those things are actually correct, and you are seeing what you're seeing, and you're hearing what you're hearing and feeling what you're feeling, and that takes work. So in the beginning, I guess, those neural pathways, they're kind of in limbo, and your memory will, most probably suffer. You will have moments when you don't, your short-term memory is off, because it was very draining going through that, and it's going to take some repair work, meaning support, to put you back together where you're trusting what you are hearing and seeing. So it's normal, and it takes time.
And trauma changes the brain. It changes the brain. What you went through changed your brain. And so you have to kind of, and it's changeable back. It can be changed back through therapy, through help. I know a lot of people, EMDR, all these different trauma tools really do help get you back on track.
Yeah, that's what I meant by lots and lots of support, Lisa, to change those back. All of that, those changes that happen within your brain. It is possible. You are 100% correct. But as you said, EDMR, cognitive behavioral therapy, talk therapy, like I engage in with my clients, lots and lots of support.
And I love how you talked about, well, first of all, The Body Keeps Score is a really, really great book. And I love how you talk about trusting yourself, because we stop trusting ourselves to do the most basic of things. Can I pick a place to eat? Can I pick a good movie? Can I dress myself without being criticized? And so you slowly learn to start to trust yourself all over again and allow yourself to grace, to just be human. And so I have to tell you, I mean, I've been out, 10 years, maybe 11 years, and I still have issues with my memory. And another thing I want to talk about a little bit about that, in order to function in an abusive relationship, you had to push down memories, push down moments, go through traumatic experiences, to wake up the next day, to continue to sleep next to that person, to continue to be there, to survive, to be there for your children. So it's really important that you realize that you had to compartmentalize. You had to put things in file cabinets, push them away in order to be able to function.
You had to disassociate. You had to,
absolutely,
compartmentalize and put the abuse on a back burner and make the abuse not as bad as it actually was. You had to minimize it, rationalize it away, explain it, sometimes even defend it, because you had to survive it. So you had to develop all these coping mechanisms, and disassociating from what is actually going on is a huge coping mechanism. So you, without even knowing it, were trying to survive, and not having the best memory of the abuse helped you at that time. But now it's not so helpful, and you need to, I guess, address that.
Yeah, address it. Give yourself some grace. Understand that it's a journey. And I'm thankful for a lot of the things that I don't process and remember. And so the things that you need to, I encourage you to get the help and the support you need to journey through that. Let me see if I had any other final questions. Oh, how do you know if you have Stockholm syndrome?
Okay, well, Stockholm syndrome is just another word we use for trauma bonding. Okay, it's that addiction. You know you've got Stockholm syndrome if you keep going back to your abuser. On a logical level, you know this person. No one has to tell you. You know they're abusive. You know they are abusing you and destroying your life, but you feel this almost compulsion to go back, and it feels so bad to be without that toxic person. You're walking on eggshells and you're in a state of fight or flight, and the only thing that will relieve those terrible feelings, aka the withdrawal symptoms, is your abuser. So your abuser abuses you, they create the symptoms of the withdrawal, which is the anxiety, the need to have them back, and then your abuser becomes the only person who can provide you with reprieve from the terrible feelings you have in the withdrawal. So we look to our abusers to feel better because the withdrawal is hideous. So this is how you know when you can't stay away from them and you know they're toxic. It's not because you're weak, guys. It's not because you're codependent to them. Yes, there may be issues of codependency around why you felt drawn to a need to be in a relationship. There may be reasons, from previous abuse that you sought externally for your self-worth, meaning you felt you had to be in a relationship for your self-worth. But we don't go back to someone who is belting us and breaking our bones and or psychologically and emotionally abusing us. When we know this on a logical level, we don't keep going back to that because we're codependent. We go back to that because we're trauma bonded, and that's what we need help around. Codependency, when we're told, oh, you're codependent, just go get some help for that. It screams of victim blaming again to me, and I don't like the word as it relates. I know that please don't say that I have absolutely no thoughts around codependency with regard to attachment styles and previous trauma, but I believe firmly that with narcissistic abuse, it has to do with trauma bonding, which is not your fault. It's not something you have to fix and then you won't go back. You have to have the trauma bonding addressed and get lots of support around that.
Yeah, that's good. Someone was asking, I think the question is love versus trauma bond. Well, for the victim, it's love, but we are also trauma bonded. Yeah, absolutely. Our feelings are genuine. It's the narcissist, on the other hand, who doesn't have those same feelings. So, Nova, thank you so much. I'm going to put your information up here. You guys, please make sure you go follow her. She does this all the time. This is just what she does and provides the most amazing information. That is her Facebook page and her website as well. You can find her there. And I just want to piggyback before we leave and just kind of focus on using the energy, the pain, the anger, all of those emotions that we feel going through it, and putting those into our own bucket. Right, Nova? You talked a little bit about that before, because oftentimes we want to put that energy back into them. I hear survivors say this all the time. They need to pay. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely believe, file those charges. Let them suffer the consequences of their actions. Absolutely. Because they're going to continue to abuse, But the key for that is your energy. Instead of regurgitating, instead of trying to focus on yourself, focus on your children, focus on creating the life for yourself and healing. Put all of that energy to propel yourself, like a slingshot.
Yeah.
Use it to propel yourself into the life you want to have for yourself.
Yeah. That and the other thing I guess that relates to that, Lisa, is the fact that, and I know people come to see me and they want to say, no, but I want to be that person I was before they abused me. And I would love you to be that person too.
Yeah.
But the fact is you never will be that exact same person. This trauma happened to you.
It's changed
okay?
you. Absolutely.
It changed you, and it is a part of you. But what you will do through the healing work is that this trauma will no longer be a roadblock in front of you. You won't be stumbling over it all the time, where it hits you in the face all the time and, negatively impacts your life. It'll be there, somewhere here or down there or in your stomach or just somewhere in your body. And you know what? Every blue moon, you may have a bit of a trigger. You may,
Absolutely.
a red car may drive past. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, my abuser used to drive a red car, but it won't have the power over it that it wants to have. You will be able to go, yeah, that trauma happened to me. You know what? I'm not going to let them have any more seconds of time inside my head. And I'm so glad I got away and my life is so, so good. You will have these little triggers maybe for the rest of your life because that trauma happened to you.
Yes.
But it's the power that we give to the trauma that makes it a roadblock or just part of who we are.
Yeah, and like you said, you're not going to be the same exact person, which is fine, but you can be better than that person because now you've learned. Now this has happened to you, and you're like, okay, this is, first of all, it's never going to happen to me again, right? But second of all, what can I do now to make my life better or different than it was before? Like I was a single mom, my kids were 2 and 3. They're now 12 and 13. Like had nothing. And so you can build your life to be whatever it is that you want it to be. Do not allow yourself to sit and soak in what happened to you. Turn it into the worst thing that ever happened to you into the most powerful thing that catapults your life to be exactly what you want it to be. It's really, really important. I want to touch on something somebody said. It's so important that when you're looking for therapy, counseling, support, that you do get with someone who specializes in narcissistic abuse. If that is the type of abuse that you've experienced, it's very, very important. You don't go to everyone for everything, right? You don't go to the eye doctor. You don't go to the foot doctor to see the eyes for your eyes. Just go to someone who specializes in the trauma that you've experienced. It's going to help you process and heal. That specific question that you asked about that age, please inbox Nova and so that she can answer that for you. I don't want her to answer that on live.
And yeah, guys, I know I'm in Brisbane, Australia, but this is my area of expertise. And I specialize in counseling victims, helping them to heal, move forward, and also escape narcissistic abusive relationships. So if you would like to have a one-on-one with me, just inbox me at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counseling Service on my page, and I'd love to be able to help you on your healing journey. Doesn't matter where you are in the world.
She can work with you
in the States or UK, wherever it is, via Skype.
Yes. And please connect with her. If this is the specific help that you need, please tap into someone who understands your specific abuse that you've encountered. Nova, thank you.
My
thank
pleasure.
you for coming back. So
love
glad
doing the lives with you, Lisa.
Yay, thank you.
Let me know when you'll have me back, and I look forward to it.
Oh, awesome. You see, she's coming back, you guys. Awesome. Thanks, Nova, so much. You guys, thanks for hanging out with us today. Please make sure you share this with someone so they can get the tools and help that they need. Contact Nova if you are in need of services so you can follow her, get her content. It's right here on the bottom, Julie, right? Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counseling. Just put that into Facebook. She's on Facebook. Inbox her and message her there. All right. We'll see y'all later. See ya.
Bye.